Hello, Mrs. Ruma Dhanwate, and in this video lecture we shall see the entity relationship diagram, that is a ER diagram. An entity relationship model or ER model describes the structure of a database with the help of a diagram. ER model is used to model the logical view of the system from a data perspective. First we shall see what is an entity. An entity may be an object with a physical existence like a person, a car, a house, employee, pen, book, etc. or an object with conceptual existence like a company, a job, a university course. Now, entity is an object of entity type and the set of all entities is called an entity set. For example, E1 is an entity having entity type students and set of all students is called an entity set. Now entities are described in a database by a set of attributes. Now we shall see with an example what is an entity and an entity set. Like we said, anything can be an entity. For example, a student, a person, a car, a house, a university course. Okay. Now here, what is an entity? A student is an entity here. Now student is an entity simply that there can be number of students, for example E1, E2, E3, E4 and E5. These are the students. Okay, so this E1, E2, E3, E4 and E5 become the entity set of the type student. Now entities are represented by means of rectangles, and rectangles are named with the entity set they represent. Now weak entity, an entity that cannot be uniquely identified by its own attributes and relies on the relationship with other entity is called weak entity. The weak entity is represented by a double rectangle. Now I have taken an example of a bank and a bank account. Now bank account is an entity and bank is also an entity. Now how do you identify a bank account? For example, if you have a bank account with the same numbers, for example 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and another account with the same number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now how will you identify the bank account? You have both the accounts with the same numbers. So how you will identify? You will identify the bank account by the name of the bank, right? So the bank account, even if it is an entity, it is a weak entity because it has to depend on the name of the bank. So bank account is a weak entity and which is in relationship with a bank. So unless and until you know the name of the bank, you will not be able to identify a bank account. Now these are the notations which are used in ER diagram. A rectangle represents the entity, then the ellipse represents the attribute, then the diamond shape represents the relationship, the straight lines or the lines, they are the links to the attributes to entity sets or entity sets to relationship sets. Then you have a double ellipse, we show the multivalued attributes. Then you have the derived attributes which are shown by the dashed ellipse. Then the total participation of the entity which is shown by two straight lines. Then a rectangle within a rectangle represents a weak entity. Then the weak relationships are shown by the diamond shape within a diamond shape. And then you have composite attributes and single valued attributes or key attributes. Now what are attributes? Attributes are the properties of entities and every ellipse represents one attribute and is directly connected to its entity. Now attributes of a student are name, roll number, then the age of the student, the class and the marks, date of birth. Now there are different types of attributes. You have key attribute, composite attribute, multi-valued attribute and derived attribute. So what is a key attribute? A key attribute is something which uniquely identifies each entity in the entity set. The composite attribute is composed of many other attributes, or it can be also said as an attribute which can be further divided into an attribute. Multi-valued attributes are depicted by double ellipse, and these are the attributes which have more than one value. And then you have the derived attributes which are depicted by dashed ellipse, and they are derived from other attributes. There are also single valued attribute. That means it cannot be further divided. We shall see the types of attributes. You have an entity student, and roll number, name, birth date, age, and phone number are all the attributes of a student. Now roll number is underlined and it tells you that it is a key attribute. Now key attribute is an attribute which is used to uniquely identify an entity. You know that roll number is unique to each of the student. So for an example, if you simply give a roll number, you can get all the details of a student. So it is a key attribute. Next, you have name. But if you see here, name can be further divided into first name and last name. So name is a composite attribute. That is an attribute which can be further divided into smaller attributes. Then you have a birth date, which is a single attribute. That means it is not further divided. Then you have age, which is in a dashed ellipse. Now dashed ellipse shows you the derived attribute. How do you derive an attribute age? You can find the age of a person or age of a student by giving the current date and the birth date. So you get the age of a student. So it is a derived attribute. That is, it can be derived from some other attributes. That is a derived attribute. Then you have a phone number, which is in double ellipse. Now it shows that it has more than one value. Now you use a smartphone with a dual SIM. So what happens is you have more than one number. So a phone number has two values. So it becomes a multi-valued attribute. So that's all in this video lecture. In the next video lecture, we shall see relationship and cardinality ratio. Now, thank you. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe the video. Thank you.